Hi everyone, welcome to our second video. My name is Dan and I'll be going through today about Power Apps, especially model driven apps, going through how we're going to go through forms and views. So in our previous video we looked at, if we go here, we set up the table for our booking application for our Hotel California booking app. And now we're going to set up the form, so how to input new data as well as edit the data that is already there, and how to set up the views so we can filter the data as we need it. So if we go to our Power App here, and let me just get this ready. Yep, so this is what is called in our model driven app our view. So this is where we can see the records which have been inputted so far. So in this case, you usually have a views here, and these can be changed, and these are predefined views. So if we know if our users are going to use certain views quite often, we can predefine those. So for example, in this one, which I've left as active bookings, this is all of the bookings that we have in our hotel. And similar to a table in Excel, you can sort A to Z or Z to A. You can filter. So if we filter here, we can filter by, let's say, if it comes up, if we just Peppa Pig, we can see Peppa Pig's bookings here. We can filter by room and sort by room, as you can, by status as well, by check-in and check-out date. And if we want some predefined views, so for example, if we just want those that are checking out today, we can see that here. So we're expecting George Pig to check out today of room 2. If we're looking at our current stay, so who's currently staying in the hotel today, we have our current stays here. And then we of course go to, we don't have any inactive bookings, but we can do that as well. And I said we could predefine our views. The users can also adapt their views as well. So if I, let's say, edit the filters, or so here we can add a group. So say we want to have a or field. So if we want to have, let's say, guest equals George Pig, or the room equals room 3. If we apply this, you'll see here we have George Pig, room 4, but we've also got Elmo, this is room 3 as well. So you can do more complex filtering here with the edit filters. And then we can either delete all filters or reset the default. So I'm going to reset the default. And then we can edit the columns as well. So if we want to add columns which you know in a database, so for example, checked in or disabled access required, we can always, the user can always add these as well. But these are specific to the user. And you'll see if I do some filtering here, this will now turn into search results. So whilst we can predefine our views, the user can always have some flexibility as well. And now if let's go to a form, so if we go to example form and it loads, you'll see the form looks like is what we use to either input our data. So if I click new, this is where we can input our data here. Example, guest, date, etc. And this is entering new, so everything is sort of blank. And then some fields we predefined as default. So we have like no here for disabled access required. If I go back, we can also look at already saved bookings as well and edit them, also using the same form. So we have here the fields here already, and you see here we have a room lookup, and we have another view here We won't go through this today, but this is something that we will add in later videos, as well as the purchases, the timeline, and the other guests as well. So these things are to come, but for today we'll just focus on adding these fields that we created in our previous video. So great, let's go back to our booking table. So the first thing I'm going to do actually, we want to add a field called guest. And if we go back to our data structure here, let's go back to that. And then if we go to our data structure, you'll see here we have our bookings table, and then we have our guests table and our rooms table. So today I'm going to talk about the guest table because that's slightly different, and then in later videos we'll add the rooms table in the same way. So if we go back to our Power App, so if I want to add, so in a model driven app, not only do you have tables which you create, but they're already tables that Microsoft already creates for you, which it thinks a lot of people will use. So if I go out of the solution view and just go tables, you'll be able to see them here. So we have account table, address table, appointment table, etc. Then these are tables which I didn't create, Microsoft creates for you. And the reason why it does that is mainly to save you time. And I'd recommend that if you can use a table that Microsoft already have created, then you're better off using that table. So one table we're going to use instead of the guests table, or in substitute for the guest table, is the contact table. So account and contact are probably the two most commonly used tables in Dataverse. Dataverse, like originating as a CRM. So account would be the name of the company that the person works for, and contact would be your point of contacts or contacts within that company, so their name, their email, their phone number, etc. So if ever you want to capture information about people, and it doesn't really matter who these people are, they could be customers, they could be suppliers, there could be just people you've reached out to, there could be staff. I would tend to use the contact table, and the reason for this is if we go to the columns, you'll see here it's already created a lot of columns for us. So we have the address, city, country, fax, longitude, latitude if we really need it, phone. Got multiple addresses here. If we want to have their income, we can do their birthday, credit limit, email, etc. And a lot of these columns you probably won't use, but that's okay. It doesn't take up that much space in the Dataverse. And as you've seen in a previous video, creating all these columns can take a long while. So we're going to just leverage this contact table for now. So first of all, let's go back to my solution, go to the Hotel California, tables. So because we're adding an existing table, we can go to add existing table, and then we can use the search tables here for contact. Then go next, just add everything, keep everything as a default settings for now. And then contact for our purposes doesn't quite make sense, so we can rename this to guest. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I can rename this to guest. Plural name is guests. However, in the code, so the logical name that it uses in the code is still contact. So when we're doing our Power Automate flows, for example, the name contact will still appear in a lot of places. And then just keep everything as it is. Save. Great, and then we want to have a lookup from our contact table. As you see here, we have our bookings table, and we want to look up to the guests table. So in Dataverse, we have different types of relationships. We're going to go more into this as we go into later videos. But for this example, there will be a one-to-many relationship between what I'm going to call primary guest and booking. So each booking can only have one primary guest, but one primary guest can have multiple bookings. So there's a one guest to many bookings relationship. So because of this, on the many side, if I go back to the Power App, on the many side we have a booking. And the way we can define that relationship, we can do it here as well, many to one, one to many, many to many. But for the most simple way of doing that is to add a new column for a one to many relationship, which would be probably most of your relationships in Dataverse. So I'm going to call this column name primary guest. Data type. So data type is lookup and lookup. And then so this is how when we create a lookup column, it is similar to, let's say, a VLOOKUP or an XLOOKUP in Excel if you're coming from the Excel world, and that creates this one-to-many relationship. We're going to make it business required. And related table, you see here comes up with all the table. I'm going to type in guest. You see it come up there. And if we go to advanced options, you'll see it creates a relationship name as well. So if we save that, that will create our relationship. Give it a few seconds. Yep. So now the next thing we're going to do is going to create our form. So this page here, or certainly the top corner of this page here. So let's go to forms, information main. Get rid of this because, or should we keep it? Yeah, get rid of it for now. Yep. So each table will automatically create three forms. Let's go back actually. So each time we create a table, three forms would be created, and then they're all called information. One is a quick view form, one is a card form, and one is a main form. We'll go into these quick view and card at a later date when we come across them, but for now just focus on the main form. And we might want to rename the form actually, because it's always information. So if you want to rename the form, you'll see here above my head you've got display name information. So I'm just going to call this booking. And if I move my head, you'll see that it has description there and max width as well. So now it's already put in two fields of the form for us, and the name of the booking. So name, so each row in Dataverse will have a column called name, and in most cases this may be the, let's say, the primary key of the record. And when I say primary key, so in Dataverse, as explained last time, we have these GUIDs, which are the actual primary keys, but the name may be like a human primary key, such as the booking number or something you would use to search for that record, let's say. And At the moment, I'm going to hide it because we have created an auto number for the booking reference, and in later videos we're going to make this booking reference the name of the record as well. So at the moment I'm just going to hide it, stop any confusion. And then the owner, so the owner of the record, so it's usually the person who has put in the record first. This can be very useful when you're working in a big organization where you have lots of people editing things, because you may want to restrict editing to just records that they've created, or have different hierarchies. But at the moment, I'm not going to go there today, so I'm going to hide that as well. Yeah. Cool. So now if we go to components, so you have here, if I open out this hamburger, we have components, table columns, and then tree view. So the components, we have here tabs. So here at the top here we have a tab called general. We can also add another tab, and you'll see here another tab if you want, so you can click through different tabs if you want to if you want to make your form into multiple sections. We won't do that today, but it's something that is quite useful, so I wanted to make it aware now. So I'll delete it for now. And then we can have either a 1 column tab or a 2 column tab. You can change it here, or if we go to general, and then if I scroll here, let's say move my head again. I've moved myself over here because this is this might be a safe space. So here you have formatting. You can also change it here as well to 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns, and then column width is 100, etc. And then within each tab you have sections. So at the moment, let me just zoom out a bit. So yeah, we have here, you'll see it's a section. You can either have a 1 column section or a 2 column section. So we'll make that clearer. We'll start with the 2 column section for now. We can give our sections different names. So if we go here, this is our section. We can keep it general. Let's keep it as general. So the label is what is seen. Let's make this general label, just so you know it comes up here. The label is what is seen by the end user, and the name is what is used for referring in the code. So if you want to use any JavaScript, for example, to show or hide sections, you need to include a name. So I just keep it as general, but for a good few videos you won't need, it doesn't matter what we name it for now. And we're just going to hide the label for now, and then we'll make it 2 columns wide, and then we can have the labels to the left or to the top. I think we'll keep them to the left. So we have tabs and columns. Quick view is similar to, if I go here, is similar to what we're showing here for the room. So if you want to have if you have a lookup, and then we want to see what, let's say, the attributes are associated with the related record, we can do that here as well. We won't go through that today. And then subgrid timelines we'll go through in later videos, but they're related to related records. I have other options here as well, but won't go through those today. So now we have our tab, we have our section. Now let's add the table columns. So let's do first, you can just click them and they appear. So primary guest, you see it appears here, and it seems to have appeared in the second column. So if I move this over, will it appear in the first column? Or how is maybe I have to, you can either click them and it's usually quicker to click the column. But you can like drag them over as well. Maybe I'll drag over check in date to here. Yeah, check out date. For some reason it's doing it like that. Right. You can also see, and this is why sometimes if it looks weird, you may have some hidden columns. So even though you can't delete these because they're required, but we can hide them. And sometimes if you have hidden columns, it interferes with the formatting. So we'll add them underneath here. Check in date, check out date. We had number of guests. Move that over there. Yep. And then I think that was it. Disabled access required and see view requested. Yep, so it's just literally drag and drop the columns there. And with model driven apps, you'll see here it says here responsive. So if I get rid of this thing for now. So this is responsive. So this is like a laptop view, but if we have here a phone view, you can see what it looks like on a phone. A tablet view, so you can see what it looks like on the tablet, and then a desktop view as well. So I kind of like model driven apps. So if you're working on a project which you want a good UI, but you're not really so bothered about what it looks like or what the colors are, etc. You just want simple data entry. Model driven apps are great because they adapt to phone, tablet, and it's very, once you've defined all your columns and your tables, it's very easy to move things around and everything just sort of works. If you want to have more control over what the UI looks like, then you would need a Canvas app, which we'll go through probably in another series of videos where you can go through Canvas apps. And then if you want a bit of both, you can import Canvas elements into model driven apps, so you can sort of have the best of both worlds. And we can go through, or we will go through that in later videos as well. But for at the moment, we're just making a simple form. I think that's all good. And then perhaps the last one to show here is a tree view. So you see here the tree view. So we have here a hierarchy. So booking is the name of the form. We have our header. Actually in the header here, I think it would be a good idea to have our booking reference number here. Yeah, you can see our booking reference number appear there. So have a tree view, booking references in the header. General, that's the general tab, and then we have a general section with our column names, and then if we want to, we can include things in the footer as well. Great, so let's now save and publish. It takes a few seconds. The thing is with model driven apps and power apps in general is that things can take a long while, a few seconds to publish. So it can slow you down a bit. That's okay. So now we have our form. And now I want to go to our view. So now we can go here, forms, and then views. And that's now change the active. Actually, yeah, we'll work on the active bookings view, and then we'll create some other views as well. So with views, there's no real, if I go to a hamburger, it's a lot less customization than a form. Essentially just defining what columns are seen, in what order, and what we're sorting by. So for example here, I think we want at the moment, so we didn't have name for now, so we can remove this and created on, you have to have at least one column here. So if I put in booking reference, we can then remove the created on column. So if you have booking reference, let's say primary guest. Let's move this out of the way. Check in date, check out date. I think that's everything there. That's what to have in our view. And then we can here, we can define our sorts. I think we want to sort by, let's sort by checking date, older to or newer to older. So the newest check-in is at first, and then this could be one view, and yep, sort by, yep, and then save and publish. This is our simple view of just of all the active bookings. And if we want to create another view, so let's create a view of those which are checking out today. So if creating a new view, I'm just going to call it check out today. We can use the, if I move my face out the way again, we can use AI generated column suggestions, but I don't think it's quite there yet. So I just untick it and then click create. And let's move it back over here. Yep, so if we just use the same again, so it was booking reference, check in, check out, and then let's say primary guest. And so if we can delete name, that was all of them. Yep. So now in this case we can change our filters. So if we go here, we can sort by, and then if we want to do sorts, we can do it here. But then if we want to do filters, this gives us, so we can filter here if we column name, and then go filter by. You can do it here and you have actually all the same options, or you can go edit filters, add row, and then check out date equals, so it can be equals a certain date, or because we're using a date time field, we can do it to yesterday, today, tomorrow, next 7 days, last 7 days, last fiscal year, etc. And this dynamically changes with the day. So we're going to have that one, to checkout date as today. And then if you want, like before, if you want different criteria as well, you can do and or here, create a group, have really complicated logic. And then you can also filter by related table as well. So if we delete that, we can also add, you see here, add related table. So you could be like primary guest, and then let's say you just wanted a certain country, you could do address one country, probably is there somewhere, or yeah, country region. Why is it there for address? Here we go, address one country, and you could say equals, I don't know, USA, and then you could just look at maybe your domestic customers as well if you wanted to. So we'll cancel that one out. We'll just do checkout date to date. Save and publish. Good. And then let's have another view. Let's say current bookings. Again, my head's in the way, but I'm ticking the get AI generated columns. And again, let's get booking reference, check-in date, checkout date, primary guest, remove name. So if I undo this, you'll see these are the 4 columns here. And what I'm going to do, check-in date, filter by. So check-in is, I'm going to say is I'm going to say a check-in can be any between the last 30 days. So if they're having a particularly long stay. but the checkout date can be the next, I'm just going to say 30 days. So what we're effectively doing is filtering out for any booking where the check-in date is in the past, and any booking with a checkout date. So any booking with a check-in date is in the past and the check-out date is in the future. Yeah. So it should be our view, and then save and publish. And that's great. So now we have our tables. Now we have our views. Now we have our forms. Now we just need the app. So if we go to objects here in our solution view, apps, or we can go new app, model driven app. Let's call this booking manager, just for a name. I think that's all good. We don't need to worry about that for now. So this is creating a model driven app. So on desktop you'll see so this is on this pane here. We've got our navigation, and then here is our preview of what the app will look like. So home, recent and pinned are kind of already there and done for you. So for the moment we just want to add our booking ones. If we go new, in this case Dataverse table, and then search for booking. Yeah, and we do want to show in navigation. Go add. You'll see here in our preview have our bookings, and you see it turned up here. So one thing you may notice here, we got a group here called new group. So what we can do is go to our new group, click our new group in the navigation, and then on the right here, sometimes it's hidden so you won't necessarily see it first time, but you see here you can change the title. So I'm just going to change this title call to booking for now, and that's that. And then you'll see here booking, and then we have like a picture of a clipboard, and I don't know what that is. It looks like a bug. So what we can do again is we can go to bookings view. I think it's booking view, is it? And then settings. We can change the icon from the default icon to another icon here, and it will come up with SVGs. You can use the ones which are already there. There's usually quite a lot of SVGs there, or you can import your own, which you can do in a later video. So if I just click home, or just find a nice, there you go, key works because you have the key to the room. We include a key for now, and there we go. And then we click apply, and then when we publish our app, it doesn't always do it straight away. So you see it's not changed in the preview yet, but it has changed here in the navigation. So when we refresh the page after all this, we can see our that will change to a key. And we have here our views. So the views that we created, so active bookings, checkout today, current bookings, inactive bookings. Here we go. By default it's on active bookings. We can show more as well, but we don't worry about that for now. Don't worry about the charts for now. And if you want to change the views, actually, you may want to change it so that the active bookings isn't the default view, but the current bookings is. So if we may need to go out of the we'll do this in a minute. But we've got our views there now that we want. And then for our forms, we have our booking form here. At the moment, we've just got one form, but we can add more main forms if we want. So you can go new form, and then it will take you to the creator that we just went before. and that's pretty much it for now. So we have the save button here, so we've already saved it. Then we have to save and publish. So let's publish our application. And then here we press the play button, and then we can then go to our new app. So you see our app is here. Everything is good. The bookings one has changed to a key. Let me just increase the zoom in this a bit so you can see. Here we go. And we have our columns here. Check out today, and then if we go new at the top, let's add a booking. So one thing to notice that we didn't go through in our forms is that at the moment Microsoft have by default that you can use smart AI to fill in a lot of the forms. I'm going to leave it in for now, but you can turn it off. Either the user can turn it off, or you can go into your environment settings here. Let's just do it, environment, advanced settings. It's usually one of the features here, or it could be actually I think it's the admin center. Just go to the admin center because it's quite a common thing to turn off. Or you can click here, hide the form and show form for assist AI one here. So we can also go to here, gear mark, so make.powerapps.com, gear icon, admin center. It's loading. Here we go, manage. At the start here, you'll see the environments. Let me zoom in a bit. Yep. You see here, if I click the environment and then settings, and then product features, you'll see here there's lots of features here, and there's like enable new Copilot stuff. You can turn these on and off, and then there's AI builder, AI prompts, AI form assistance, blah blah blah. You know, there's lots of features here. So if there's any AI stuff, so in the middle of 2025, I'd say, when I'm recording this video, I'd say it's something where we know probably in the next few years it will be a bigger presence, but at the moment it's sort of a bit iffy, and so your clients may want to turn it off. They can turn it off here as well with the Form 4 Assist toolbar. So here, default on or off. I'm going to turn this off and save. There we go. So that's that. And then I think the last thing I want to do is to make it so if we go back, make it so that primary view is the default one. So if we go tables, booking, views, we go views here, say current bookings, and here we can change the set as default view. So we make this the default view here, and now we've selected it as our default view. So now if I go back to the application and then refresh, we see if it's come through. It may not have done. I have to exit and go back in the application again. Apps. Edit. What I like to do is I like, because you're always going back between the solutions, I don't like to edit in the same tab. I like to edit in a new tab. go. And you see current bookings is now the first view that comes up as well. So that's good. Let's just play this and let's add a booking just to test it out. Add new booking. Just go new. So this is one thing where if you're adding a primary guest, we don't actually have the form there set up. I'm just going to call it Mr. Bean for now and save and close. But we can do this so we can in later ones where we can add a quick create form. But at the moment, I'm just going to make it Mr. Bean. Check in. Today's the 14th, so let's do one where it's checked in the past and check out in the future. Just so it should be in the current bookings table, etc, etc. So you see here now the booking reference is blank because it's an auto number column. When we save, you see it's created the booking reference based on the year. And now if we go back, we can see current bookings, yet booking reference, check-in date, check-out date, Mr. Bean, and then this box here is where I can go to the record and edit stuff there. And we see check out today. No one's checking out today, but let's add one where they're checking out today. For the sake of time, I'm just going to use Mr. Bean again. Check in a week ago, check out today is July 14th. We'll add in a second guest because he wants Mr. Teddy as well. We'll just say, see if you requested yes. So now if I click save and close, you'll see here checkout today, it would be booking reference 0002. So now you see everything sort of works. So current bookings, we've got 0001 because that's checking in the past and checking out in the future. But where they're checking out today, we have this here as well. Great, so that's a fairly quick introduction to forms views in a model-driven app. What we're going to do next time, we're going to go through quick create forms, and we're going to be using some business logic as well to help guide the user who's filling this in to not make any logical errors. So great, thanks for watching today. See you in the next video.